My husband loved telling people that without him, I wouldn't even know how to pay the bills. He didn't say it once. He didn't even say it as a joke between us. No, Daniel said it everywhere, at dinners with friends, at family gatherings, even once at my own birthday party. And every time he said it, people laughed, including him. But the worst part? He actually believed it. You see, every time the electricity bill arrived, Daniel would hold it up dramatically and say something like, "Good thing you married me. Otherwise, you'd probably still be staring at this like, it's written in ancient hieroglyphics." Everyone chuckled. I forced a smile, because arguing would make things awkward. But inside, something twisted, because the truth was very different. I wasn't helpless. I wasn't clueless. In fact, the only reason Daniel thought he handled everything was because I quietly let him. For 10 years. 10 years of listening to the same tired joke. 10 years of watching him puff up his chest like he was the great financial mastermind of our household. 10 years of swallowing the humiliation while people nodded along. Wow, Daniel really keeps things together. But the night he made that joke in front of my younger sister, something inside me finally snapped. Because he leaned back in his chair, smirked, and said loudly, "If Sarah ever had to live without me, she'd last about 2 weeks before the lights got shut off." My sister laughed nervously. I didn't. I just smiled, a calm, quiet smile, because at that moment, I realized something. Daniel was about to get the chance to test that theory. Very soon. If you've ever been underestimated, disrespected, or treated like you couldn't survive on your own, this story is going to feel incredibly satisfying. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and get ready. Because this revenge story only gets better from here. Daniel and I had been married for 11 years. From the outside, our life looked comfortable. A nice house in a quiet neighborhood, decent jobs. The kind of marriage people describe as stable. But stability and respect aren't the same thing. Daniel worked in IT support and loved to remind everyone that numbers and finances were his domain. I worked in project management, meaning I coordinated million-dollar deadlines, managed teams of 30 people, and balanced budgets that could buy 3 houses like ours. But according to Daniel, I apparently couldn't understand how to pay the water bill. At first, I assumed it was harmless teasing. Then the jokes kept coming. Every bill that arrived became his stage prop. "Don't worry, honey, Daddy will handle it." "Good thing I'm here to keep the lights on." Friends laughed. His parents laughed. Even my coworkers laughed once when he made the joke at a barbecue. And every time I felt my stomach tighten, not because I doubted myself, but because Daniel was slowly turning me into a punchline. And the more people laughed, the more confident he became. Until one evening, about 6 months after that dinner with my sister, the joke crossed a line. We were sitting on the couch when the mortgage notification popped up on his phone. Daniel looked at it, shook his head dramatically, and said, "Imagine if I disappeared tomorrow. You wouldn't even know where to start with this stuff." Then he laughed. That same smug laugh I'd heard 1,000 times. Something inside me went very quiet, because in that moment, I realized something important. Daniel didn't respect me, not even a little, and respect is the foundation of any marriage. Without it, all you have left is a performance. So that night, while Daniel slept beside me, snoring peacefully, I stared at the ceiling, thinking, planning, because if Daniel truly believed I couldn't survive without him, then maybe it was time to let him find out what life looked like when I did. And over the next few weeks, I started quietly preparing, not arguments, not confrontations, something much better. Proof. Proof that Daniel's favorite joke was about to become his biggest mistake. For the next 2 months, I did something Daniel never expected. I stayed quiet. No arguments, no corrections, no defending myself. In fact, whenever he made one of his little financial genius jokes, I simply smiled, the same soft smile every time. And that confused him. But while Daniel kept performing his comedy routine, I was doing something far more important. I was taking control of my life. First, I met with a financial advisor during my lunch break, not because I didn't understand money, but because I wanted everything to be perfect. Every account reviewed, every document organized, every step mapped out. The advisor actually laughed when I explained my situation, not in a cruel way, in disbelief. "Wait, he thinks you don't understand finances?" she asked. I shrugged. "He's about to learn differently." Then I opened a new bank account. One in my name only. Next came the apartment, small but bright, sunlight pouring through the windows, hardwood floors, a tiny balcony overlooking a park. When I signed the lease, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Relief, freedom. But the real turning point came one Saturday morning. Daniel was in the kitchen bragging to his friend Mark over coffee. I was standing just a few feet away, rinsing dishes. And then Daniel said it again. If Sarah had to run this house alone, she'd probably Google how to pay electricity. Mark chuckled. And Daniel added with a grin, honestly, she'd be calling me in a week begging for help. The kitchen went quiet for a moment. I dried my hands slowly, and in that moment, I made the final decision. No more waiting. Daniel wanted to test his theory, so I was going to give him the opportunity. 2 weeks later, everything was ready. The apartment, the finances, the paperwork, and most importantly, the envelope. It happened on a Tuesday evening. Daniel came home from work, tossed his keys on the table, and started his usual routine, complaining about traffic while scrolling through his phone. I walked into the living room carrying a plain white envelope. My heart was calm, strangely calm. Daniel looked up. What's that? I smiled sweetly and handed it to him. Good news, I said softly. You're finally going to get to test that theory. He frowned and opened the envelope. Inside were divorce papers. For a moment, he didn't react. Then his eyes moved across the page, and the laughter he always had ready, it vanished. Completely. Wait, what is this? He stammered. I tilted my head slightly. You said I wouldn't survive without you, so I figured we should find out. Daniel's face drained of color. Sarah, you're serious? I nodded calmly. Very. And for the first time in 11 years, Daniel had absolutely nothing to say. Here's the funny thing about people who underestimate you. They think confidence comes from being louder, from bragging more, from turning someone else into the joke. But real strength is quiet. It's planning. It's knowing exactly what you're capable of, even when someone else refuses to see it. Daniel spent years believing he was the one holding everything together. But the moment he opened that envelope, he finally understood something. The person he thought couldn't survive without him was the one who had already moved on. If this story gave you that satisfying feeling of justice, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more incredible revenge stories just like this one. And I'm curious, have you ever seen someone underestimate the wrong person? Tell us in the comments below, because sometimes the best revenge isn't yelling, fighting, or proving someone wrong in an argument. Sometimes the best revenge is simply walking away and letting reality prove everything for you. And trust me, when that happens, the silence speaks louder than any joke ever could.